Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Judge Stanley speaking. It looks like we have everybody here who plans to attend today, so let's go ahead and start. Good morning and welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals. Once again, my name is Judge Teresa Stanley, and this hearing is for the appeal of Ward. My co-panelists today are Judge Stephen Kim and Judge Greg Turner. This hearing is being recorded and transcribed electronically. To ensure we have an accurate record, we ask that each person speaks one at a time and avoids speaking over one another. Also, speak clearly and loudly, and if needed, I or any panel member may interject to ensure that we have proper transcription. After the hearing, the Office of Tax Appeals will produce an electronic transcript upon request. As a reminder, the Office of Tax Appeals is not a court. We're an independent appeals body staffed by our own subject matter experts, and we're independent of the Franchise Tax Board or any other tax agency. We're already officially on the record because it's being transcribed and live streamed at the moment. This hearing will also be posted on the Office of Tax Appeals YouTube channel after the hearing. So we're on the record in appeal of Ward, OTA case number 2502-18856. The date is January 22nd, 2026, and the time is 9:34 a.m. This hearing is being held electronically with the agreement of the parties. I am Judge Teresa Stanley. I will be the lead for purposes of conducting the hearing. My co-panelists, Judge Stephen Kim, Judge Greg Turner, and I are equal participants in deliberating and determining the outcome of this appeal. So I'm going to ask the parties to introduce themselves and who they represent, starting with appellate.
Am I the appellate?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is Jacqueline Ward. I am the appellate, and my husband is on the line as well. Jonathan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. Jonathan Downs. I go by JD. And I am the appellate's husband and also her pseudo business manager.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Downs. I'll be a little more formal than calling you JD today. And then Franchise Tax Board, can you please introduce yourselves to appellant?
Good morning. This is Paige Chang for the Franchise Tax Board.
And Maria Brosterhouse, also for the Franchise Tax Board.
Thank you. As stated in the minutes and orders, the issues to be decided in this appeal are whether, excuse me, appellant's claim for refund for taxable year 2018 is barred by the statute of limitations. And secondly, if it's not barred by the statute of limitations, has appellant established reasonable cause to abate the penalty for failure to respond to the demand for tax return? Ms. Ward, do you agree that these are the issues today?
I do.
And Ms. Chang, do you also agree that these are the issues?
Yes, we agree. Thank you.
Okay, appellant submitted exhibits 1 through 2. Franchise Tax Board did not object to the admissibility of those exhibits, and they are admitted into evidence. Franchise Tax Board submitted exhibits A through K, and appellant did not object to the admissibility of those exhibits, and they are admitted into evidence. Ms. Ward, at the pre-hearing conference, you indicated that you will be testifying today and that Mr. Downs may also testify.
That is correct.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you both to raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. We don't do so help me God anymore.
Yes.
You may if you want.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes.
Okay, and Ms. Ward, you requested 15 minutes for your presentation. You can trade off with you and Mr. Downs as you wish, and you can proceed when you're ready.
Great. JD, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I would just want to interject. I mean, so, Judge Stanley, the formal, I guess, are we allowed to be a little bit more informal? Or are we looking at just doing our presentation, having our time, and then I would imagine that the state has the ability to have their time to, present their standing, and then it goes before, the three-judge panel to basically like make a ruling. Is that basically like the process that we're about to undergo?
Correct. You and Ms. Ward can speak in the narrative. There's nothing, we're not formal about this. We're not going to have you do question answer or anything like that. You can just speak, but just do it one at a time. And then after that, the Franchise Tax Board is going to make their presentation. They will not be presenting any witnesses, so they won't be sworn in under oath or affirmation. And then we will return to Ms. Ward to make a final statement. And then after that, the Office of Tax Appeals the panel will meet, deliberate, and decide your case.
Okay. Well, I guess it just to be expeditious with our time, like instead of going through the whole process of doing those, us presenting, having the state present, I understand, and I think both Jacqueline and I understand from doing our research that there's actual government statutes or state statutes that, is basically like put into like law that we, that we may be up against. And, and I guess we're just trying to maybe cut to the chase to understand. We can go through our presentation, the state can present in the order of saving time and like not going to the extent of like utilizing this whole, going through this whole process. Can we ask the question whether or not like any presentation that we make based on the
Statute of limitations.
the statute of limitations, is that just basically like I mean is that just a hard wall that's gonna like come up against that we're gonna come up against, and it's gonna be just be ruled within the used as, I guess, case law to say that this appeal is, basically like denied, from the beginning?
Well, I don't want to speak for the whole panel, and we haven't sat down and deliberated over this yet. So why don't you present whatever information you think is important to us regarding this issue, regarding why or how or what the reasons were, or if there's any exception to the statute of limitations bar, if you believe there is. You can go ahead and present that, and we'll take it under consideration.
Okay.
Great. I'm happy to go, JD, and you can
Sure.
fill in accordingly.
You go, and I'll come in after.
Yeah, so the subject calendar year, I think our goal is recognizing that there was a delay in filing for the subject tax year, are to enumerate some of the things that I was going through during tax year 2018. I don't know, again, this is my first time doing this. This was a rare occurrence for me to have, not filed for taxes. I certainly have paid my fair share and probably more to both the state and the national government. In year 2018, I was in a severe accident abroad. We didn't admit it into evidence. We certainly could produce it if there was a request for follow-up, but I underwent surgery in the summer of 2018. The accident affected my left leg. I was out of work not out of work. I had limitations related to what my job requires, related to the immobilization that occurred by way of the accident and the subsequent follow-up surgery. And it was just a rare, for all intents and purposes, it was a rare type of calendar year for me. I'm an executive at a company. I typically, do things as far as taxes are concerned, on time, and based on the efforts of my husband helping me reconcile some of these past year instances, the reconciliation of the delayed filing of this subject year's tax submittal was really based on him helping me clean up after the fact. I was a single woman at the time living by myself. So my resources available to me, in addition to the surgery and the accident that I mentioned, included seeking new tax accountancy counsel via a new CPA. JD, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think that we also want to be, very open and transparent that Jacqueline's tax returns for both 2018 and 2020 were filed at the beginning of this year, which that kind of is why we're sitting here now, is that it ran up against the statute of limitations. But she was billed, an amount that was kind of overstated and estimated on her income, a few years back, a couple of years after that she didn't, that she was lax in filing both 2018 and 2020. Us, at the beginning of this year with the new CPA that we finally was comfortable enough with to move forward, and that actually we felt like, had our best interests at our, admitted to Jacqueline that she should file, an official tax return for both 2018 and 2020 because she did, she did overpay according to the estimated levy that the state had applied to her account, which, I know if we look at the records, I think, and I know we're not talking about the year 2020, it was accepted and she was given a credit forward, based on, the amount that she was billed and the amount that, she actually owed as a taxpayer. And I think the same is, that's why we're sitting here, is because I think there's a refund owed for 2018 that that we're running up against the statute of limitations. And I think the purpose of both Jacqueline and I sitting here with this panel and with everyone is just, I think, we're just trying to understand if there's the opportunity to, to rectify the fact that there is an amount that she overpaid and that amount should be due to the taxpayer. And I guess, in short, that's kind of where we're hoping that the panel can understand. If you look at her back tax history and under, we're not there, we're not asking because, this isn't something to stand on, but she does pay her fair share of taxes, and you know, she will continue to do that because of her standing. But again, I guess we're just trying to get to some consideration to, you know, find, some common ground to accept that return and again, find a fair outcome.
And then
Sorry. Yeah.
in closing, I would just add that I don't have enough history, again, doing this for my first time. I'm not looking for a check from the state. As JD mentioned, I'm an upstanding citizen who continues to pay what the state and the national tax boards require of me. So I'm not looking for a check, but if there was a forward commit, refund, right, that would be a credit against. I think I've actually already paid my estimates for 2025, but on a forward-looking basis, if there was an opportunity for a credit or a partial credit in consideration for the excess amount that was, estimated as my amount, and then the compounding penalties, we're open to resolutions that might be appropriate. But I think the main highlight is, if you look at, again, we're only here to talk about 2018, but extenuating circumstances, right, related to the accident that I had abroad and the impending surgeries that went on for some time.
Okay, Ms. Ward, does that conclude your initial presentation?
Yes, it does.
Ms. Chang, do you have any questions for either Ms. Ward or Mr. Downs?
No questions. Thank you.
Judge Kim, do you have any questions for either witness?
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you, Judge Stanley.
Judge Turner, do you have any questions for either witness?
I don't, thank you.
Okay, and I just have one, Ms. Ward, because you talked about an accident and impending surgeries, and I think we saw that in the file as well. Do you, how long did those limitations last? How long were you in that position where you were having surgeries and recovering from the accident?
Yeah, I would say the full recovery was probably for the duration of the year. I'm not looking at a calendar or any like notes that I've taken on this, but just based on my recall, when the accident happened in early summer of 2018, the surgery was midsummer of 2018. Just thinking of like the the drains, the immobility of my leg, probably through the duration of calendar year 2018, so maybe 6 months or so.
Okay, thank you. That's all the only question that I have. So let's turn to the Franchise Tax Board. Ms. Chang, you requested 10 minutes to present, and you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Paige Chang, and along with my co-counsel Maria Brosterhouse, representing the Franchise Tax Board. There are two issues on appeal today. First, whether appellant's claim for refund for the 2018 taxable year is barred by the statute of limitations. Second, if it is the case that appellant's claim for refund is not barred by the statute of limitations, whether appellant has established reasonable cause to abate the demand penalty. Now, turning to the first issue, the statute of limitations prohibits respondent from crediting or refunding an overpayment when a claim for refund is not filed within the later of 4 years from the due date of the return, 4 years from the date that the return was filed, if it was filed within the extension period, or 1 year from the date of the overpayment. Turning to this case, FTB undertook filing enforcement action in 2021 because FTB received information indicating that appellant may have had a filing requirement for 2018. FTB issued a demand for tax return, then a notice of proposed assessment, and then the proposed assessment became final in June 2021 because appellant did not respond to these notices nor file a return. In September 2021, FTB received a payment from appellant, which paid the balance due in full. In January 2025, FTB received appellant's late filed 2018 tax return, which is considered appellant's claim for refund. Appellant's claim for refund is untimely and is barred by the statute of limitations because appellant filed her claim for refund more than 1 year after the expiration of the 4-year statute of limitations and filed her claim for refund more than 2 years after the expiration of the 1-year statute of limitations. The law provides that the statute of limitations is mandatory and there is no waiver under the law based on reasonable cause or other extenuating circumstances. Here in this case, appellant explains that she suffered a severe car accident in summer 2018, which required surgery and hospitalization. Appellant also explains that the pressures of business affairs in her career prevented her from timely filing her return. FTB is sympathetic to these difficulties. However, the language of the statute of limitations is strict and explicit. The law does not provide any waiver based on reasonable cause, such as appellant's arguments here. The statute of limitations also applies even where it is shown that the overpayment was not owed in the first place. Therefore, appellant has not met her burden of proof, and the expiration of the statute of limitations bars the creditor refund of appellant's untimely claim for refund. Now turning to the second issue, FDB's position in this appeal is that appellant's claim for refund is barred by the statute of limitations. However, in the case that your office holds that appellant's claim for refund was timely, FDB's position is that appellant has not met her burden of proof to establish that the demand penalty should be abated for reasonable cause. Here, FDB properly imposed the demand penalty because appellant failed to respond to the demand for tax return for the 2018 tax year. And additionally, for the 2016 tax year, FDB issued a notice of proposed assessment when appellant failed to respond to the 2016 request for tax return, which was within the 4 preceding taxable years. Here, appellant explains that the circumstances of the car accident during the period of summer 2018 prevented her from timely filing her 2018 tax return. However, the demand penalty is imposed based on a taxpayer's failure to provide a response in the prescribed manner or to file a tax return in response to FDB's demand for tax return notice. Here, appellant hasn't provided an explanation for her failure to respond to the demand for the period of the deadline to respond in March of 2021 through January 2025 when she filed her return, which was a period of more than 3 years. Therefore, appellant has not met her burden of proof to establish reasonable cause to abate the demand penalty in the case that appellant's claim for refund is not barred by the statute of limitations. Based on the foregoing, appellant's claim for refund is barred by the expiration of the statute of limitations, and FDB's denial of appellant's claim for refund was proper. Therefore, FDB's position should be sustained. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions from the panel.
Thank you, Ms. Chang. Judge Kim, do you have any questions for Franchise Tax Board?
No questions, thank you.
Judge Turner, do you have any questions for Ms. Chang?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to follow up to the question I asked the appellant. Ms. Chang, there is a particular exception to the statute of limitations based on financial disability. And since Ms. Ward testified to her accident and follow-up surgeries, can you please address whether and if that exception would apply?
Yes, in limited circumstances, yes, it is the case that financial disability may toll the statute of limitations. In order to qualify for the tolling of the statute of limitations based on financial disability, the taxpayer has to provide information that the taxpayer had a medically determinable physical or mental impairment for a period of at least 12 months or which was a terminal condition, where the case was that the taxpayer was unable to manage his or her financial affairs. Evidence required in order to support the financial disability claim includes a physician's affidavit. Here in this case, we have heard testimony from the taxpayer regarding the surgery and the car accident. However, the appellant in this case hasn't provided sufficient information for a claim of financial disability, including the physician's affidavit. Thank you.
Okay, and one more question, Ms. Chang. Sorry to put you on the spot, but Ms. Ward also testified about her good tax history. Can you address whether that's a consideration in this case?
With regard to the statute of limitations claim, a good filing history is not an extenuating circumstance that would allow for the tolling of the statute of limitations.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Ms. Ward, you have 5 minutes to respond. You and or Mr. Downs can respond and make a rebuttal statement if you wish.
Sure. I just maybe am inquiring relative to any case law precedents whereby a taxpayer has received a refund outside of the statute of limitations where there are not extenuating circumstances, right? Like I understand all of the things that you have just outlined, related to what the law says, right? Medical, someone that has the legal wherewithal to get an affidavit from, a doctor and things like that, which I do not. Is there any case law precedents that has allowed a taxpayer to receive a refund outside of extenuating circumstances like the financial peril or medical peril for a year plus outside of the statute of limitations?
Ms. Chang, I'll turn that over to you since I don't want to give legal advice.
Just so I'm sure that I have your question correct, your question is about cases regarding financial disability where the documents provided weren't necessarily the documents that that I discussed previously.
Yeah, perhaps let me restate my question. Is there any precedence, I think precedence is the right word, whereby a taxpayer has received a refund that is outside of the statute of limitations that did not share an affidavit from a doctor or extenuating financial circumstances? Because what I'm hearing based on your argument is you're saying that I haven't met the burden of proof because I haven't provided any of those things, right? An affidavit from my doctor, whatever, things from my employer. Are there any precedent whereby the state has provided a refund in a circumstance like that?
There aren't. For financial disability, if there isn't. FDB has a specific form for financial disability, and taxpayers can fill out that form, or they can provide the information that's required on that form without using it. But without providing the required information, there cannot be tolling based on financial disability.
I'm sorry, let me maybe ask that a different way. So in the history of appeals for the franchise for the Franchise Tax Board in the state of California, no taxpayer has ever received a refund outside of the statute of limitations for good standing tax payment outside of a certain subject year that does not have extenuating circumstances, correct?
Yes, I think that's right. I don't have any case citations available to me right now where that was the case.
Yes, and I can just step in and say, yes, I'm also not aware of any time that we've ever done that.
Okay, and Ms. Ward, we will take note of your questions and we will fully address that in the written opinion so that you have your answer completely. Okay.
Great, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Do you have anything more to add?
I don't. Jonathan, do you have anything?
I have nothing more to add. Just wanted to thank everybody for their time. And I think that, Jacqueline would also say that, we understand that we're here because of, of delinquent tax filing. I think, taking responsibility for that first and foremost, we understand that that we wouldn't be here if we filed on time. So we definitely want to understand that, we want to acknowledge that we take the responsibility for that in the panel, in front of the panel.
Okay, this is Judge Stanley speaking. Thank you all for coming and presenting. I want to make sure my co-panelists don't have any additional questions. Judge Kim, do you have any final questions?
I did have just one question for Ms. Ward. So you made a tax payment in September 2021. But did not file your return until January 25. And we've heard your testimony regarding what happened in 2018, but what caused the delay between that September 2021 payment and the filing of your return?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Obviously, we're here to talk about 2018, but to address your question specifically, my job and career is within office commercial real estate leasing. So if anyone that followed the news in March of 2020, our industry and business was completely upended starting in about April of 2020. We are just maybe in the last year getting out of that, but there was complete and utter havoc that was wreaked on what I do for a living, my clients, how I make money, starting when the COVID pandemic hit in 2020.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any additional questions.
Thank you. Judge Turner, do you have any final questions?
I do not, thank you.
And I do not either. Today's hearing in the appeal of Ward is concluded, and we are off the record, except that we're not because it's being electronically recorded. Thank you, everyone, again, for participating today. The panel will meet to deliberate and decide your case, and we will issue a written opinion within 100 days. And Ms. Ward, we will address the questions that you have in that written opinion. The Office of Tax Appeals is now in recess, and the next appeal will begin at 10:30 a.m. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you all.